And I'm Ben.
I'm Thom.
Hello and welcome to episode 35 of Entertainment of Excellence, the podcast where we talk about films, one singular TV show, all of it. Hi, I'm Ollie, and today we're going to be talking about the 2019 film Klaus. This will contain spoilers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I'm Ben.
I assume that means that we're back. So, welcome to the very special Christmas episode
Oh ho ho.
of Entertainment of Excellence. We decided to get in a Christmassy mood, watch a Christmas film.
Merry Christmas.
This was highly recommended from Ollie himself.
Yeah.
I know, and
Well, I'm the expert on this film,
yeah.
so I'm going to have some really hot takes.
were you on the movie set of this animated film?
Yeah.
You were? Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Were you the makeup artist?
No, I was a gaffer, actually.
Oh, right, the gaffer, yeah.
Yeah.
So the
That's what you-
basic plot is
Just first, stick around
Oh.
to the end if you want a Christmas surprise.
oh, of course, yes,
Yeah.
the Christmas surprise.
Could say it's a bit of a
So-
bop.
You could.
Good.
So this the plot. Okay, the plot of this film follows like a postman. Well, he's been forced to be a postman by his rich dad, who's like, if you don't set up this postal, like if you don't deliver 6,000 letters in Smearensburg in 1 year, then I will kick you out on the streets and leave you to be homeless. It's like, okay.
What a guy.
So he goes off to Smearensburg, which is like this really miserable village where everyone just attacks each other all day. The Crumb and the Ellingbows. And he has to try and deliver letters, but obviously no one uses the postage system. And he basically finds this guy called Klaus who lives in a log cabin by himself. And then they end up delivering presents to the children because then the children can write letters so that he can get a chance to go home. And then, etc., etc., he becomes Santa. Klaus, I mean.
Yeah.
Basically. There is, like, I can't. The fact that I couldn't be bothered to explain all the plot points, I didn't realise how much. I guess there's quite a lot of plot points, maybe.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess there are. But the thing is, though, it's quite a. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's quite a stereotypical story. It follows like pretty much the story arc that a lot of stuff does, and especially a lot of Christmas films. You know, are like someone who's a bit selfish at the start. They meet someone who has a tragic backstory, which in this case was just the death of his wife. They were going to have children, who he made loads of toys for. He doesn't want to get involved with something, but the protagonist changes his mind. Then they do some stuff, but then oh no, there's the climax where the protagonist has to go back to his selfish ways, and he chooses not to, and then they all live happily ever after because family and love and Christmas.
Well, I mean, I think.
At the same time, I'd say that
Yeah,
it
it's-
just sort
I was
of
gonna-
subvert a lot of the Christmas film
Yeah.
conventions, and it like tries to retell a lot of the traditions that a lot of Christmas films just sort of treat in the same way. So I'd say in that way it's quite unique, I felt.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually it's probably one of the most unique Christmas films I've seen, because actually, I mean, Klaus is never actually selfish. I get that the Jesper's like character arc is fairly standard.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found was interesting was that it never actually used magic, but it felt like a really magical film. So
Yeah.
it's one that actually kind of understood Christmas more than a lot of other Christmas films, where the kind of like magical feeling is all just from like people, giving toys or just doing general acts of goodwill, which always spark another, or whatever the quote is that they say. And it's kind of about, that the magic that comes from it is like the imagination of the kids as they see whatever's happening, like them ramping off a like mountain and like crashing in a sleigh. That's how they decide that the sleigh is magical and can fly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting in that it's fairly grounded while also having this kind of like Tim Burton feel. I wonder if it felt like that just because of its like setting, where it's all mainly in one place. And the town feels like very Tim Burton-y.
Yeah. I mean, something I quite liked, the fact that it's like drawing on traditions and stuff, and like this feud and conflict between these two sides of the people in the village is like only really based on tradition. It's like derived from past generations and like the conflict between relatives. So I think that is almost some sort of, it's almost meant to represent like Christmas in its own way, just to do with like traditions, and then like unity that comes together somewhat inadvertently later on in the film.
Yeah.
Wait, you think the tradition was the Christmas? What? This is an interesting thing.
No,
Because I thought it was kind of like saying it was like going against tradition if it's a bit like weird or like it doesn't really help anyone,
yeah,
and that yeah, like I don't know how to describe it, but in a weird way also like getting used to change, because the the two families don't actually hate each other, because they call a truce to then so that they can start the fighting amongst themselves again, which is like what are the it's like there may be a bit of a problem with your feud here.
Yeah.
yeah,
That was an interesting plot point, but yeah, I thought it was all cool. Like the feud is also helpful for like the setting of the tone. I think that's where all the Tim Burton feel comes from. Is like at the start where it's a darker tone with like the battle bell, and they all like fight each other, and there's all the creepy kids. Like one of them walking forwards with a carrot that look like they're about to murder someone in cold blood or something.
Yeah.
I remember that. But there's a lot of like little gags it does that like it really suits the animated style. So like thinking of the battle bell scene when he goes into the school, like I remember the teacher getting ready in the pose for when something hits, and then like things start falling down and she was already ready to catch it.
yeah,
That was like a little gag I liked. And the one of like the Ellingbows, when they were making all those letters to deliver, it was just one of the big ones with like their tongue was just sticking out so they could swipe the envelopes on the tongue.
Yeah.
Just like little stupid gags like that I did enjoy.
I mean,
So
it
I
is
think
like a kids film, but then at the same time it does have some pretty, well, not necessarily mature themes, but it just makes, I think it's definitely more thought provoking than your typical Christmas film.
yeah, the like even the some of the jokes are as well. Like I remember one of my favorite jokes is from the boatman, probably the best character, when Jesper's like going being taken home right at the end of the film, and then the boatman says something like, "Oh, I sure hope that it doesn't fester and become a source of resentment and regret." Or something.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite line.
Should we
And
talk
wait,
about like some of the
the boat-
actual characters within the film? Because
yeah,
I kind of like the idea with the postman. It always seemed like he was doing something that like was genuinely good, but he had like questionable motives, and he was very like self-centered, and um, but I did quite like his like redemption arc later on in the film.
mm.
Yeah.
I just liked all the general stuff to do with the postmans as well, like the opening scene in the Postman Academy with all the kind of letters and stuff flying around.
Yeah,
I like that, and yeah, his character was cool. Like he does, because he does kind of have a point at the start of his. It's his dad like forcing him into every opportunity and things. And then when he says the line of saying that everyone, he says something about like everyone has something to get out of something that they do. You know, if it seems kind. And what he's actually referring to is himself delivering the presents just so he can get back to like his pampered life and things. Like I thought that it was interesting that they did it where he felt that because like he was guilty of his own selfishness, but because he was selfish, he then assumed like everyone else was, so couldn't really trust people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I quite like that.
and like when you see the characterization of the teacher, who at the start is like similar to him to an extent. She's
Yeah,
come to Meerensburg, and she's like saving up money to get away, but then she sort of reinvests all that to um, redo the school and think of the children. And
yeah,
then I guess that's kind of similar to the postman, who he always has this incentive of return to this privileged life, but it it's sort of like an empty life. He has genuine happiness with the relationship he builds up with Klaus and the other people in the village. So he
mm.
doesn't he has this idealized view of the home he'll be returning back to, which isn't necessarily any better than the life he's leading.
Yeah.
What is that? The same theme as Room?
Whoa.
No
Whoa.
way.
Because they're identical films.
One thing that it was driving me crazy the whole time, the the teacher, right, that works at the school, and she starts selling fish. Is that in School of Fish? Is that intentional? Was that? I was like, are they ever gonna? Is that the joke? Is that why? I was like, because when it said school on the front and she sold fish, I was like, oh, is the joke gonna be it's called school because it's School of Fish? But no, it was like actually a school, and I was so confused. What do you think?
I'm
Well,
not
as someone that helped in development of this film, not something
Yeah.
we necessarily thought about.
It's not.
No.
I'm just.
No,
I just wasn't
no
smart
way.
enough to
No,
pick up
that's
on it.
someone decided to do that. They could have made her sell anything, have any job on the side, but they chose fish. I mean, come on. Right, well, I'm gonna
It's
say
a
that
joke.
it's the School of Fish joke, rather
It's a
than just
joke.
getting to see her like chop fish up on a desk
It's
for
a joke.
no reason. Joke.
And then obviously the character of Klaus, his story arc, well, his character arc is like him opening up because he's presented as like really reclusive at the start, and I guess he's self-centered to in a different way, but you start to find out it's because of his wife's death, which I know Ben was saying that's like quite quite a predictable like Christmas story arc, and there are degrees of this that um you've definitely seen before, but I actually really liked this character because he was able to do quite a lot without actually having much dialogue at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. When I was saying it's like quite predictable, I don't mean that in a bad way. Like it's a solid
Yeah.
formula, and obviously they're like bringing a new perspective to it. Yeah, and I thought Klaus especially worked very well. Um, who's it voiced him? J.K. Simmons,
J.K. Simmons, the lad,
the
the
Spider-Man boy.
legend, and the Whiplash boy.
I'm the Spider-Man boy.
Yeah. And the BoJack Horseman boy.
And the Legend of
Uh,
Korra boy.
Is he? Is he in Legend of Korra?
Yeah, he's Tenzin in it.
I've not seen Legend of Korra.
Do it now. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I
I know it's on
recommended it.
Netflix.
Yeah, it's
Did
on
you-
Netflix now. I'm so annoyed about that. Anyway, back to Klaus.
You're so annoyed that you definitely didn't pirate it.
Yeah, like a month before it went on Netflix. That's why they should have like. Back to Klaus.
They do have a coming soon if that's what you were gonna complain about.
Yeah, but it's not my fault. I didn't check it.
Okay.
Netflix's fault.
Um.
But I did like that. The fact that he's like building these bird houses as a reminder of his wife, and there's obviously that scene near the end when he's like, I think it was quite a unique portrayal of his death rather than just showing him dying. He's sort of like joining his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ending was very unique, and I guess it links back to sort of you were saying it's sort of magic without magic, because one interpret at face value it's Klaus, I don't know, sort of becomes Santa and everything, and kind of becomes the legend that you associate with Christmas now with like the flying reindeer and all that. But I think it meant as like Klaus ended up dying, but his legend lived on because other people sort of took over and carried on his legacy. So when I think the last line of the film is like, once a year I get to meet my friend. It's like the Jasper's always reminded of him because that's the legacy that he helped Klaus build.
That's actually a better interpretation of what I thought, because I was kind of annoyed at the end. I was like, "What? Magic is just real now?" But it makes sense that it's like a legacy of like gift giving and inspired by Klaus. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and like with the swirling like wind, I think that was just kind of like to show that the wife was like sort of in his memory and stuff. It wasn't like explicitly like her spirit being there. I think it was just a more sort of metaphorical approach to, because when like the wind's moving and he walks off into the distance, that's sort of like saying his time's come and he's dying. But in a wholesome Christmassy way.
Yeah. We need to talk about the most iconic character in this, though. Margot.
Yeah.
Oh. She was voiced by someone that didn't speak any English. Apparently, the director went all the way to Norway to do her whole recording session, which was through translation and mimicry. So,
Damn.
well done, that girl, I guess, and also Sergio Pablos.
I wonder what the Norwegians think.
What do you think that was? Because obviously a big theme was like communication in this, because that's what all the letters are about, and the town doesn't deliver any letters because they don't actually talk to each other and just assume they hate each other.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So having Margu, who is from like it's a tribe, I guess, of I think they're called the Sami or something, that don't speak English. That's kind of, I guess, that's more like even more playing into the communication theme.
Yeah, because like he can't. Well, she might not be able to understand him. He definitely can't understand her, but she's a really good listener and sort of affects his character a lot.
Hmm.
Because in the end, I think she was one of the reasons he ended up staying because, like, obviously he brought so much joy into the town and stopped the feud between most of them. But like, it was probably just like seeing her joy and like her happiness that when him and Klaus bring her the boat, and I think that was a turning point for his character. So,
Yeah,
and the fact that she was there when he was like venting and trying to work out his own motives and frustrations. Like she
Yeah.
didn't like judge him. She was just there listening, and that's kind of what the rest of the town should have been doing amongst themselves.
yeah, and also the fact that like they sort of live quite a stripped back lifestyle, and he was like at the start he was really emphasizing that, oh, you must bring a penny. His main motive was trying to get back to his life and um trying to make some form of a profit, but he's able to see like the genuine happiness that you're able to get even if you don't necessarily have that much.
Yeah.
Hmm. Should we talk about the animation? I feel like we have to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
So the animation like style is really interesting. It is like it is hand drawn, but um it's it's weird. Okay, so basically they do hand drawn animation, but they also have like CGI lighting. Uh, Apparently this is the first traditionally hand drawn animated movie to make use of volumetric lighting and texturing to give it a more 3D look.
Oh, so it was mainly hand drawn then.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's why it's got like such. What I really liked was like the colors. It's quite
yeah,
when they first get there, it's all greys and things like that, and then it gradually gets brighter, and it's kind of like, and it's not like really saturated colors. They feel quite soft and comforting. I've no idea how, but that's the vibe I got. And I know that they do like really clever things with like when he first for the design of Smearensburg, they use loads of sharp angles and triangles to make it look uh you know uninviting and unfriendly. But for the log cabin it's more like round edges, so it's supposed to be seen as nicer and friendlier by
yeah.
contrast. So a lot of care obviously went into this film. In fact, is it possible it may have like taken 10 years to make from what I've seen.
Wow.
It was definitely a passion project because the director had worked on he worked on the 90s Disney films, or some of them, like Aladdin and Tarzan, and he set up his own animation studio and wanted to make a new traditionally animated film because a lot of animated films now switch to computer animation, which is fine, but it would be quite sad to see the death of 2D animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like,
it's interesting to see stuff like this, which has like its own unique feel. So it's still got that traditional animation, but also the CGI lighting.
I mean, yeah, I think definitely with the animation, it somehow made me feel like a sense of nostalgia, even though this film literally came out last year and that's when I watched it.
Yeah.
But just in terms of the color, I think there was one scene that really stood out to me, which was when like the postman's dad had come back and was and saying, "Oh, well done, you've sort of filled the quota and you can come back home." And then there's like a the teacher and like the well, not necessarily Klaus because he's wearing like the red robes, but like all the people surrounding them, they're all gone back to looking very grey and dark, like how they originally were.
Yeah,
And then there's like the sunlight coming through, which like might be showing that turning point, that sense of enlightenment for him, like kind of realizing that he has to stay and like he's contributed to the rebuilding of this society, and like that's the crucial moment when he realizes that um he doesn't necessarily want to return to that old life. So I think, as you were saying, the color for me was a really big standout, but also just with the animation, I liked how different characters almost like move differently. So there was just that one person who like um threw stuff on the neighbor's washing line, and like she had this really weird way of walking, and like Klaus I
mm.
felt sort of moved differently, and it really helped to like have distinct characters just to based on the animation alone.
Yeah. I think that animation's interesting because like everything that's on screen was put there on purpose.
Yeah,
So I know that's like a lot of people will only watch animation because they feel like it's the highest form of film because of that everything's deliberate, which I can appreciate. And that's why animated films always feel so like kind of loving in a way, because the animators have to really enjoy what they're doing. And there's like, if you look through the list of animators, there's so many, and you've got to have supervisors for each of the characters or the main characters. I think there's definitely a supervisor for Klaus, Alva, Jesper, and Margu, just to make sure that these characters are perfect in every scene. And it's so much dedication goes into animation. It is really impressive. So I feel like you are right about the sunrise thing, because it couldn't have happened by accident.
yeah. Well, there's no room for mistakes in most animated stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just it's just great just seeing it. Like, even if you don't really care about the plot, like it's just looking at the animation. It's all these like soft brushstroke kind of looking stuff, and I don't know how to explain it, but you'll just enjoy seeing it. And what just confused me about this film is that they started shopping it around in 2015, in April 2015, and it got turned down by loads of studios because it was too risky. I don't know why it was too risky. If it's like the origin story thing or
Well, something that
what it is.
I thought could potentially be a bit controversial is like it almost seems to remove any sense of like the religious side of Christmas, and it's sort of the implication is that these traditions were formed um, around these characters. I mean, it doesn't really have any overt comment either way, so it's sort of a bit ambiguous whether um, like there was any sense of a Christian Christmas beforehand. But I guess that could potentially be controversial.
Yeah, it does mention a Christmas, because that's what they're like. Oh, we can deliver all the presents for Christmas.
Yeah, but
But
I
yeah,
don't know.
maybe I don't know. It's because it's just more like about the theme of the joy of giving, which is like really early on when you see Klaus give like his first toy. That's like a really emotional scene. Um, but I think it was only picked up by Netflix in like 2017. I mean,
Yeah.
it shows you how long it takes for films to get made and for companies to actually release it or studios pick them up.
Yeah.
Thanks for the input, Ben.
I'm like tired.
I mean,
What did you think of
there's
the
not much.
music? What?
Yeah, I was just
What?
about to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know what I thought of like having. There was a song. It was in like one of the emotional climaxes it was kind of like a pop song. I just didn't like it having vocals. I don't know why.
Yeah, I
I feel
felt
like it would have.
like it was a bit too. It felt a bit out of place. I can't really place what was wrong with it because you know that like a lot of other Christmas films in their emotional climaxes also have like pop songs with vocals in them. Um,
Mm,
like I don't know,
Yeah.
just off the top of my head, like the Snowman has "Walking in the Air" and stuff, and like uh, lots of other ones have songs that are written for the movies like that. But I don't know, it just felt like this one it just didn't fit. Maybe it was the style. I don't know, but
Yeah, I was gonna say like the animation and just the way of the storytelling seems very stylized, but then the music, well, not all the time. I think the music I like to say often with the soundtrack it served its purpose, and I think at times it was quite cathartic and emotional, but I think it was just a bit too generic compared to the the rest of the film, which seemed very unique and stylized.
yeah,
yeah, and I remember there was one of the gags that didn't hit was when he told that kid about like the naughty list, and then he walks in and there's like a song of like "Don't mess with the postman" or something. I'm like, okay,
oh yeah. I was
that
just
felt a
like,
bit cheesy.
I was just like, okay, right, you do your thing.
Yeah, no thanks. Whatever. That was there's mainly though like I did think a lot of the comedy worked. I still remember a few of the jokes, like when he's on the boat, still the boatman, still my favorite character, and he's like, "Is the weather always like this?" He's like, "Oh well, we've got a bit of a heat wave at the moment."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just I don't know. I did like a lot of the humor, and I'm gonna still assume that the school of fish, that was the joke. I'm still going with that. I don't care what anyone says.
Sure.
There's just also like some other subtle explanations of little things to do with Christmas. Like, you mentioned the thing about like the sleigh and the reindeer and stuff like that, but then also like the lump of coal and the
Yeah,
naughty list and stuff, and how
the stockings.
Santa's always watching. Yeah, so he
Because
just did it in
I
like
like that the stockings was like because he was too scared to actually come out of the fireplace.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah, there's
unique way where it kind of takes Christmas traditions and puts a different spin on them. Like most of them were just complete accidents or like spur of the moment decisions. Like the whole
mm,
flying reindeer thing is they've like flown off a cliff or something and they're just like falling. Uh, but obviously like the kids see this and they start to like imagine more and create this legend which like becomes Santa in the end. So
yeah,
yeah.
a different take, whereas a lot of other like sad to origin stories seek to like use magic or something and say like take everything at face value. Like you know he finds magical flying reindeer or something, but this was very different and I really liked that about it. It was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
then I didn't particularly like. I understand that it was meant to be like really exaggerated, and like the feud in the town was just meant to be sort of not motivated by anything, and it was meant to be the children who were sort of resisting it and not really understanding why um they weren't allowed to play together or whatever. But I did just feel like the the two families were just incredibly evil and hostile for no real reason, and like just the I don't think it did a great job of like explaining um why they were like trying to get rid of him. Like I know that like it was just based on this tradition that was meant to be like potentially a bit inexplicable, but I did just sort of feel like they were too evil almost.
Mm.
But it's only like a minor thing.
Yeah,
I guess that's what you get for it being a kids' film.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like
Do it
it's good. It's unique, but at its heart, it's a kids' film, and it does need to kind of uh make the bad guys a lot more explicitly bad. I
Yeah.
suppose just for the sake of kids watching, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just it gets a bit tiring if you watch a lot of kids films in a row, which I can't say I do.
But yeah, because I think that was definitely very different with like the main characters who definitely had some sort of development, and they were a lot more complex. So I think they just stood out that they seem very one-dimensional.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Groovy.
Groovy.
We mentioned that this, well, we haven't mentioned, but this was nominated for the best animated film Oscar, but it didn't actually win. Went to Toy Story 4. And
Yeah.
well, I personally enjoyed this more than Toy Story 4. I forgot it even existed, if I'm being honest.
Toy Story 4.
So did I.
I saw it at the cinema. I did like Toy Story 4. I just have to decide whether it's better than this. I can't remember. I remember it having like quite a mature theme, although I can't remember what that was. Maybe I'm just thinking of like the fork wanting to kill itself or whatever. Yeah, maybe I did think this was better because the Toy Story characters now, like it's been like over 20 years since the first Toy Story came out, I think, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's Toy Story 4 I thought was good, but the characters now are feeling kind of tired.
Yeah, the problem
Yeah,
is
but I
when
guess that plays into it because people were like, they weren't necessarily expecting it to be very good.
Yeah.
So when it is good, people are like, "Whoa, this is really good," and it's not necessarily even.
I've just noticed it
great.
was nominated alongside I Lost My Body, which I did really like. I think I recommended it one week.
Yeah,
That's another Netflix film. I feel like maybe alongside Missing Link. What? People cared about that film. What? Is that good? Oh, I don't know. I feel like probably I Lost My Body should have won, but whatever.
yeah.
Maybe not many animated films came out in 2019. Oh, yeah. Or is it 2020? Does it count for? Oh,
I mean, it was
92nd
2020
Academy
Oscars,
Awards. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I feel like I Lost My Body should have won, maybe. I think I like that more than this. More than Klaus. Possibly. We'll see
Yeah.
when we give our ratings. Which will we do now?
Do you have anything else to say?
Anything extra?
uh,
By the way, Smearensburg is based on a real place called Smearenburg, or at least the name is.
oh, they added an S. How creative.
If you wanted to know, it was a deliberate misspelling. They didn't actually just misspell it. Don't know if you cared about that.
I did actually.
You did? Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Ollie was the one who named
Waiting for
it.
someone to notice it. Yeah, I named it. I was actually quite
Oh.
upset that no one had pointed it out, but
Oh. Did you know that it was originally planned for the Sami people to speak English, but it was later changed and they only spoke in their native language?
well, of course I did.
Do you want me to
I was the
read
one that
more
wrote the
IMDb
dialogue.
trivia?
No.
I quite like that they were meant to like. They started to represent like Santa's elves. That was like another one of those
Oh yeah,
little
yeah.
Christmas explanations.
Did you notice how they changed the just one thing? They changed the original like thing that Klaus says is a true selfless act always sparks another, and then later on they're saying that the quote is a true act of goodwill always sparks another.
I didn't
I'm
notice
pretty
that.
sure.
No.
I thought it was a true selfless act, like right up to the end.
I swear they start saying goodwill.
We'll look at the transcript.
Am I just
of the
insane?
movie.
Can I not actually?
I mean,
look at the
I'm pretty
the
sure it was
the
selfless
script.
act.
But I remember. Let me see.
You're reading the whole
Okay.
script.
Yeah. I swear it said goodwill at the end because that I was like, I'm sure. Because I remember when it came up, I was like, I swear it said selfless at the start. But now you're saying it only said selfless. How am I supposed to find this without watching the whole film?
Watch the whole film again.
See, a true act of goodwill. It comes up as well.
Ooh,
I
that spoils the film, and
Yes.
that's like dropping my rating by a
Yes,
thing.
it's been spoiled.
whole. Yeah.
How do you feel?
Well, I think I'm gonna have to give it like a 4 now.
No, don't be so hard on yourself. Just because like you
See, you
executive
said it was-
produced it.
You said it was too risky because of the religious stuff, but it's on there's a thing on the Christian Post saying that Klaus highlights biblical values. So I guess maybe all those other studios were just stupid.
I mean, I guess it's just. I guess it's Christian values rather than like the Christian story, because
Yeah. But I mean, is Elf the Christian story?
you saying it isn't? Elf is word for word Leviticus.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Right.
Cool.
I love how I chose Leviticus as the Bible book.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Why not?
So let's give an overview and then our ratings.
Okay.
So you can follow along with this at our website, entertainmentofexcellence.weebly.com, which is now getting regularly updated. As if that wasn't
I was waiting for Ben to do the plug. That's why I wasn't carrying on.
the bare minimum
I
requirement.
was waiting for the website plug.
Yeah, you can go onto the Hall of Fame section, and it will take you to a link with the every rating and order, as to which we're now going to use with all 33 films and 30 films and 3 TV shows we've done.
Nice.
So, I'm trying to work out, because I really enjoyed it.
So if we
but
compare it to those, maybe.
This is our 4th animated film.
We've done Fantasia,
Does that mean that now?
Heavy Metal, and 9.
That means now there's going to be. You can't just be an animated film to be in the best animated films on the Hall of Fame.
Oh. So you're basically saying Heavy Metal's gonna go.
Yeah. Sorry, Heavy Metal.
It's our lowest rated film that we didn't do because it was a bad film. That's not a good achievement.
I know. I'm trying to think. Wow, I gave Fantasia quite high. I'm trying to think because Fantasia was like really groundbreaking. I'm trying to think what I enjoyed more. Because Fantasia is kind of a completely different experience.
Oh, I got Fantasia even higher than you.
Yeah. How wacky is that? Maybe I'd put it on like the same level. What I'm just checking all the other what I've given everything else.
That might take a while.
I know this is difficult for me. I'll probably rate it maybe a tiny bit. I'm 7.5. I'm just being boring.
I'm gonna go.
Sorry, fellas.
7. What did I give Black Panther? 7.4. Yeah, I think I'll go 7.5 as well.
Yo. What will Ollie give it?
Give it a little bit higher. Give it a 10.
Really?
Yep.
No, you're not allowed to do that.
Ever?
You're not allowed to do
No,
that.
Ollie,
It's your
you're
own
a little
film.
bit
You're biasing the
biased.
results.
Yeah.
No, wait. No,
Oh, no, I
Ollie, you're
forgot
not
that
allowed
they
to go
changed
higher
it
than
to
8.5.
goodwill. No, but they changed it to Goodwill, so it's going to drop down to a 4. I'm afraid. No, I'll go somewhere in the middle at a 7.7.
Oh.
I thought you meant in the middle of the two 7.5s. I was just like, wait, what?
That is what I meant. 7.7 is in between 7.5 and 7.5.
Yeah,
obviously.
Of course it is. That gives a total rating of 7.6.
Ooh.
Damn,
Well done, Klaus.
pretty groovy. Congratulations,
Good Christmas
Klaus.
special.
Yeah.
Slightly
So now
better
it's
than
time
our
for-
Halloween special. Slenderman.
Ooh. Yeah, just a bit better.
Yeah. So we don't have any submission spotlight today, but next week we may. I'm not going to say anything more than we may, because if we forget again, then. But if you are a creator and have some work that you'd like us to look at and give some ratings on, give some feedback, we'd love to have you on the podcast and talk about that. Or even we don't have to have you on the podcast. We can just talk about it. Just send it in. Just send a link to it via the contact form on our website, or DM us on Twitter or Instagram, both of which are at ERV Podcast. Or I guess just leave a comment somewhere. We'll find it. We'd love to look at your stuff. We've done a couple before, but we'd like to make it a regular thing. So please send in your work. Thank you. Now it's time for recommendations.
It is.
Thom, you're on a roll with remembering the submission spotlight. Well done.
I know. I was actually going to say, but then Ben went ahead and did it.
Yeah, I have to steal your thunder.
I know, because I know I have to say it every week to get my food from Ben and Ollie.
Your ration.
Yeah, otherwise I have to go hungry for a week. But
Isn't that film we
tell
did?
the viewers. You're meant to find out.
you're gonna say, isn't that film?
Yeah.
Shut up. Okay. Recommendations. I've got one. Shall I say it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go
Cool.
ahead. If it's good, then we might give you like a few extra rations.
You
this
have
week.
permission to
Really?
speak.
Luckily, it is good. Okay. I watched
It's better
The
be, the stakes are
Departed.
high.
I watched The Departed by Martin Scorsese, which is like a gangster undercover cop film. It's 2.5 hours, but that like flew by. It's like the pace is like bam, 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 bam. You know, it's really entertaining. Great characters. Like Scorsese is always really good with like having these vibrant settings and like characters that feel real and like you can actually know them. And it's got quite a unique story from what I can remember from like other films. And it's just really enjoyable. Lots of twists and turns, and a very impactful ending. And great use of music, as Scorsese is known for. It feels like there are a lot of things that when I was watching, I was like, oh, that's very like Goodfellas-esque, which is a good thing because Goodfellas is like my favorite gangster movie. It's above The Godfather in my humble opinion, but maybe I didn't appreciate The Godfather's filmmaking or whatever. But yeah, The Departed is a really, really enjoyable watch. I think it's on Prime, or I watched it on Prime, so go watch it. Lol.
And it's got Louis from Kangaroo Jack.
It does have Lewis from Kangaroo Jack.
The original,
So that-
or the Good Day USA.
The original, I was
Course.
watching it and I was like, is that Lewis from Kangaroo Jack? And it was. I was so happy. And do you know who else it's got in it? Mark Wahlberg from Mile 22.
Mark Wahlberg, he was in a.
But they're actually both really good at it, and I was like, wow, cool. Maybe they just need to pick good films sometimes. But yeah, it is really good. So watch it. Or else.
or else Thom will not get any more rations and we'll no longer have a special guest.
Do you think that was a worthy recommendation, Ben, or are we going to have to reduce the
I think I'll
rations
let him
again?
pass, but I'm not giving him any extras.
Oh, thank you so much.
So,
Do you have any
Do you have anything, Ben?
recommendations?
so you know what it says in the description? You're gonna have to tune in to find out if Ben has a recommendation or not. Here's the moment of truth. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not.
No.
Oh, no.
I've just been watching the Clone Wars a lot recently, and
That
I'm
was
pretty sure
so
someone's already said
brutal.
that.
No, you're so brutal.
Why don't you just give a few
Oh.
thoughts on the Clone Wars?
Yeah, sure.
We've been naughty this year.
Yeah, you don't get any Ben recommendation. Maybe next year. Yeah, I'll just say a couple quick words about the Clone Wars. So there's 7 seasons of it. The first couple, like, okay, they're pretty much like isolated episodes. There are a couple of arcs, but most of them are just like one-off battles and stuff, which is like fun to watch. But if it wasn't for the later seasons, I'm not sure I'd watch again. Because from like season 3 onwards, it gets a lot better, and there's a lot more arcs, multi-episode arcs with like more time spent developing characters and stuff. And I also like the fact that it doesn't necessarily focus around one character all the time, because like obviously like Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are like the main characters that people who come back to the most, but you get a lot of you get some with just clone troopers, you get some with other Jedi, you get some with like Padme and the senators. So you're
Jar Jar.
constantly like getting a groovy overview of everything that's happening in the Clone Wars. And then like recently, so the last 3 seasons are definitely the best. Season 7 came out like pretty recently, and the last arc of that kind of goes alongside. It happens at the same time as Revenge of the Sith, and so I did this thing where I watched them both at the same time, which is about like 4 hours long. If you have that time, I won't necessarily say it makes it any better watching them at the same time, but it is cool and it does highlight how well they kind of link in together. And also just a couple of things like the fact that Grievous and Anakin never actually duel in the Clone Wars is good, because that means that when they first meet in Revenge of the Sith, which is obviously like many years before the Clone Wars even started, then the Clone Wars series was ever made, sorry, rather than chronologically in the story. It's good that they kept that continuity and stuff. So yeah, the last arc is really good, and it's a lot darker, and I would highly recommend it. So you've kind of got a recommendation there, even though we've been bullying Thom to watch it for weeks. He got a few rations when he started.
Yeah.
Whenever he finishes a season, he gets 2 rations.
I thought season 6 was really good as well, because it like sets up a lot to do with all the 66, with like the Cypher DS stuff, and then I won't give too much away, but
Yeah,
it
really helps smooth out like the sort of jump between episode 2 and episode 3, and a lot of the questions that kind of just come with episode 3, like, why did all of the clones just immediately turn? It kind of goes into that,
but I don't really get why, like, season 6 is sick, but then in the middle there's just like a Jar Jar arc. Admittedly, it's probably one of the best Jar Jar arcs, but that's relative.
Yeah.
And then season 7, the middle episodes are also like some of the worst, like the Ahsoka stuff. Like, isn't like the last arc of season 5 with us is probably my favorite Ahsoka arc.
Oh yeah,
So like that character, like Ahsoka's a really good character in the show, but like her in the first few seasons, and then in those episodes in season 7, it's just like kind of annoying.
yeah. She kind of gets on your nerves a little bit, and you're not as like attached to her, given that she wasn't in any of the films. Because like, if like Anakin gets a little bit annoying, you can kind of fall back on the fact that he's the main character of the prequels and one of the main characters of uh the Clone Wars and stuff. But like Ahsoka's completely new, and like you obviously don't have as much attachment to her. But yeah, the end of season 5 was great. There are a few
No spoilers. I've just started season 5.
Yeah, no
Also,
Russians for
like
you, mate.
the penultimate arc in that season 6 as well, with the like the Mandalore stuff.
Yeah, I loved all of the Mandalore episodes.
Yeah.
It's the
And the Ponkrell and Umbara arc's pretty epic as well. Have you seen that one, Tom?
Ponkrell? What's
the
that?
guy that looks like Dexter
Jedi with,
Lester.
Yeah.
The Jedi that what?
The Jedi that looks like Dexter Lester.
Oh yeah, that's in season 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that bit's great. I like Umbara. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, I love
those episodes are really good.
I love the really dark stories like that kind of stand out a bit.
Yeah, I think my favorite was the finale of season 4. So from what I've seen so far, I've seen in series 5, I've seen episodes 1 and 2, and I think the finale of season it's the second Darth Maul episode. So it's what is it? It's when Obi-Wan
like the episode 21 with that
Ventress.
weird snake that like leads Savage to find Darth Maul.
No, that's the one just
episode
before
21.
it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, spoilers, Darth Maul returns and he's a really good villain. I like the fact that he was explored a lot rather than just episode 1. He was of like a Phantom Menace. It was just there, just kind of a one-dimensional villain.
5 lines or something in
episode 1. He's got my favorite villain voice so far in the Clone Wars, because it's more like the cool, calm voice that is like scarier to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something weird. But how come like in season 6 onwards, well, mainly just season 6, they start only referring to Dooku as Lord Tyrannus? I just found that really weird.
Do they?
I mean, they do, but I guess that
really...
kind of makes sense because in episode 2 they knew that there were 2 Sith, and they knew that someone was called Tyrannus, and by the like season 6 of the Clone Wars, they're starting to put the pieces together. So
yeah,
and apparently there was going to be another story where they like almost find out who Palpatine is Sidious and stuff. There's a lot of like close encounters with him almost being found out.
There's not much of it, but the Palpatine stuff in the Clone Wars is sick.
Yeah.
He's probably got one of my favourite scenes, but I won't say what it is.
Ooh.
Put plus thoughts on the Clone Wars in the title of the stream.
Yeah.
Speaking of Star Wars, The Mandalorian just wrapped up as well, season 2.
It did,
which was pretty cool.
I've just started season 1.
No, season 2 seems a lot better, but it's like
it wins.
A lot more fan servicey.
Yeah, but guess who the fans are that are being serviced? Us. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible.
I'm fine with fan service.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy being serviced, Ollie?
Do.
Whoa.
Yeah. By you.
Ooh.
All right. A brief recommendation from me, because I'm running out of time a bit. But I watched Whiplash. Speaking of J.K. Simmons, who was in this. That. And I thought it was really good. It's basically about like this drummer who goes to this music college, and this is really this teacher with questionable behaviors, and like he tries to almost like justify it, and you can just see that he's constantly manipulating him and forcing him into doing really extreme things. But like the tension that they create, especially in like the final scene, um, is like some of the best I've seen in any film, I'd say.
Mm.
So yeah, watch Whiplash.
Groovy.
Groovy.
Well, that's...
Do we have any comments from the chat?
No, unfortunately we don't. We had a few last week, but we've only
Oh.
had one listener listening consistently, and they haven't left any comments. That's sad.
Oh.
To be fair, last week's episode was also really successful on podcast platforms, though. So maybe we'll get a lot of listens then. Who knows? Yeah. So our Halloween episode did really well, and stuff. So we decided, well, what was it about that that went really well? No, not our Halloween episode. I'm so stupid. Our Kangaroo Jack episode.
Oh, just before we do that, I think we actually do have something in the chat.
Do we actually?
What?
I mean, I'm just guessing. Definitely no one I know or me.
Oh yeah. Who is Skilldozer123? Never heard of them.
Who could it be?
What are we doing next week?
Wow.
Wait,
I
is the
can't
Christmas
remember.
bot playing right now?
No.
I swear I could hear it.
What?
Right, so before we move on to Christmas Pop, next week we're doing, is it called Left Behind?
Yes.
So watch
This
that.
is amazing. Really good.
Our last episode of the year.
Yeah.
Damn. It's kind of cool. Well, thank you for listening. Tune in next week for the last episode of the year. And yeah. I was going to say something else, but I've
Yeah.
forgotten. So we'll just
So
leave it.
professional.
Thank you for listening. Alright, see you.
All right.
Right,
See you.
see ya.